You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Black Box After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Black Box After Show.
I Shall Be Released, the name of episode number 10 tonight. Good evening, I'm Mindy Thomas, and welcome to the after show for ABC's AfterBuzz. I'm also happy to be in studio with my co-hosts.
I'm Teresa Hello, Black Boxers.
Hey, Black Boxers. I'm Jade Howard.
And it was quite a show tonight. Actually, I am just enamored with one of the responses that I heard on imdb.com, and I just want to share this right off the cuff because she says, M. Calhoun 79 says tonight's episode was the best episode yet, in her opinion. And she also says that she was very emotional and just could not take her eyes off the screen. So this is a progressive way that the show is moving along. Teresa, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think this was the episode I was waiting for. It was a big payoff episode. Katherine finally goes off of her meds. I think I've been waiting for that. She goes manic and she has a spark of genius to save the patient with rabies. And she ends her engagement with Will, which is, you know, it was in the works, but she finally did it this episode. And then she starts pursuing her relationship with Bickman. So lots of good things.
Right. Dr. Black was in total crisis when the show opened tonight, and she was in her psychiatrist's office. And then she's sort of remembering back to what brought her there in the first place. So that was a unique way to uncover this episode. Jade, what are your thoughts?
I was just excited to finally see her get off of her meds. Not that you should ever wish that on anybody, but I was really waiting for her to get off her meds. So I was extremely excited and ecstatic when that happened. So, and also you really got to see her storyline really unfold, things that you're anticipating, so many predictions that we had, and now it's finally being all laid out for us to see, which I think is great. So
yeah, there was no real dancing going on, but there was certainly a lot of drama, a little bit of barking at one of her fellow doctors or something.
Right, yes.
Sure. We'll get into that.
Got a little meow, a little catty in there.
Yeah, but it was definitely the relationship with Will and Katherine was right on the burner tonight and weaved throughout everything. So
and Bickman.
Pretty much,
Bickman.
Yes, absolutely.
As Teresa likes to say, Bickman.
And at the beginning of the show, you know, he basically gives her an ultimatum. He says, look, I've got to know, is this where you're at? You know, talking about Hotel Marabella. Is this where you were the night you lost your phone? Ultimatum, you're keeping something from me. Tell me what it is or I'll leave. And of course, that's her worst fear. She's already been abandoned by her daddy, of course, her mother in a different sense, and then of Johnny when she was 16. So then her response was rather interesting. That was not predictable for me.
Right. She ends up telling him about Esme instead. So she's essentially covering a lie by telling another truth.
Yes, and her psychiatrist pointed that out, which I thought was fantastic, that she has a moral compass because Dr. Katherine Black was rather unsure about which way hers was pointing. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I don't know what to do with this is basically where she's coming from.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it was a good way to get out of her, you know, really telling her true feelings about Bickman to him.
Right, and she does have some true feelings that are really coming out. How did that play out with you, Jade, when Will is confronting her and he basically ends up being the loving, understanding man, good man that we all know him to be in his heart?
I mean, that's just shady. Let's be honest here. She lied. She got caught. and she wanted to escape being a bad person. She didn't want to hurt him. So instead, she's like, oh, I'm Esme's mom. And so she basically hit him at like the most emotional part of him, which is his compassion towards her. And she totally took advantage of that. That is so freaking wrong and shady on so many levels.
So it's kind of like a cat in a litter box, and like, okay, she's doing some serious cover up.
Man, she covered up.
I feel bad for Will in this episode.
I feel really bad for Will because Will gave up a lot for her. I mean, he gave up his side chick for her. I mean, that was a sacrifice for Will.
Well, she goes into the story, you know, I was 16 years old and Johnny left me, and she really totally diverted because that's not what he asked her. And yet he was sucked into her oblivion in a way.
She's wrong. I can't say that anymore times, but
Well, I think it's going to come back to bite her.
I hope it does. She deserves it. She definitely deserves it because she was unfaithful, and instead of just being honest, and because she can't blame it on her meds this time.
No.
When you go back to the first episode, she says, I do things when I'm not on my meds, I can be really bad.
Okay, so what do you think the problem is with her then?
I don't know. She's bipolar and she's got some issues.
Okay, so
I think that's what...
I don't think she was ever really fully in love with Will.
Yeah, and she blamed not being on meds for why she cheated on him.
Okay, let's analyze that. Like, why is she not into Will on that level? Does she feel bad about herself for having this?
Well, I think her relationship with Bickman helped her realize that because, you know, he kind of made her think, Bickman made her think about, you know, what it was that connected her to Will. And I think she you know, kept thinking about that and realizing, like, really there isn't anything.
Well, he was totally downplaying, oh, your chef, oh, your cook, actually. You know?
Oh, that's just wrong. I mean, hey, I'd like to see Bickman go in the kitchen and make whatever Will can make in the kitchen. You know what I mean?
Well, he's whipped up some pretty amazing brain surgeries in recent weeks, and he's got his own forte. But yeah, to put someone else down is not cool. Totally planting
But
bad
I think it
seeds
worked.
there.
It got to Katherine.
Well, that's because he was working his game on her. And I also feel that we have to really touch on the fact that, oh gosh, I'm losing my train of thought. But Bickman, Dr. Black, everybody lives at the Cube. They're all married to their jobs. So I think that's what's making her not want to be with Will, is that she cares more about her job than she even does about herself. She'll put her job before her mental well-being.
Okay, so she's got her identity is so far into her job. What is her job giving her? Because, you know, is it an adrenaline addiction?
I think so. I think they all have, like, it's an adrenaline rush for them all.
Yeah, because she and Bick have that in common. Like, they both are high risk takers. They like to live on the edge.
Right.
I mean, they're right there. I mean, putting someone in a coma in order to cure rabies, that's about as far out there as you're going to get. And
that's a bonding experience that she's not going to really get to do with Will, you know?
Yes, it's a different type of relationship, but is she falling for this sort of bond that's more artificial, that's not so heartfelt, so she doesn't have to be vulnerable, that she's not really ready for love yet? Is she not really ready for the real thing?
I don't think she'll ever be ready. I'm pretty sure Johnny just messed her up in the head, and she hasn't been the same since Johnny. Because that's what she also mentioned to Will, was that when she didn't start feeling her first manic episodes until she was pregnant, and Johnny left her, and she had to give birth at a mental ward.
That did come out. You know, it really came out at a peculiar moment, so that's a good point.
It's really Johnny's fault, I guess we can all say. I'd like to see Johnny come.
That's the root of all her problems.
Yeah, the root of all her problems is Johnny. Johnny is the root of the problems.
I also don't think that she has any idea what she's getting into with Bickman. I don't think she's properly thought it out.
Because he seems like he's playing her on some level to me.
I agree.
Like, until he can really get her and win her completely, and then he's going to be like, talk to the hand.
Well, I think that's... I think it's great that you bring that up, Teresa, that she's not fully understanding. I don't think Bickman is either.
No, I don't think he even has thought about, you know, her actually leaving Will to pursue a relationship with him.
They both think so short term.
Right.
That's what makes them so alike and maybe too alike.
And remember, he was okay with her continuing to be with Will and seeing him at the same time. So the fact that now she's left Will, expectations for him are going to be much higher. And I think that's where the issues are going to rise.
But that's why Bickman said, hey, you can have us both. Like, you can have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
You just can't tell Will, because I think maybe he knew, well, then Will's going to leave you, and then I'm stuck with 100% of you. Where I'm actually cool with just about that 50%.
That's not what he wants.
No. He
He's
lives in a hotel.
Well, because the last episode he had said, "Why are you trying to make me into him when you don't even want to be with him?" So maybe underneath there, let's say that maybe there's some genuine, heartfelt. Maybe he comes in and out of it, but I don't think because of his fear of commitment that he can really walk it through.
Just like her, they're two alike. You're literally looking at male version of Dr. Black and female version of Dr. Black. They're the same. They're each other's reflection.
And from a psychological perspective, it's just gaps filling gaps. It's like the similar wounding of two people, or they have these things in common, but yet at the end of the day, are they just it's gonna clash?
It's going to clash.
No, it's gonna clash.
Because they're not gonna have any buffer in there.
There's a total lack of buffer.
Well, so, okay, talking about the rabies case, this was a fascinating case because, the girl Lily, she comes in, and also the Walking Dead man. Which one did you find more interesting tonight?
I would say Lily, but maybe we can go on the Walking Dead man and then...
I agree.
Yeah.
Lily was
Dead man walking.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, that was unique. I had never heard about that before.
I haven't either.
That was a really, really, really interesting case study.
Yeah, he comes in, he's like, you don't have it on this application here, the condition that I have. And she's like, well, why not? And he's like, well, because I'm dead,
She looks like, wait, okay, definitely need to page the doctor ASAP, because this isn't, that's not normal.
Right, Coutard syndrome, a rare condition. The one doctor jumps on board, Dr. Owen Morley. He's all
Who we
thrilled.
love.
Who we love. He plays such a great, can we just talk about how great he is in that role? It's so believable. Like, he's the type of man that if I'm at the hospital and if I happen to have stumbled into the cube and I would see someone like him. With the way his
Terry
little bow
Kinney.
ties are.
Terry Kinney totally pulls off the believability in that role. Yes, I'm with you. I want someone like that running up and saying, this is my dream to work on a case like this.
Hey, Terry, we're digging you here at AfterBuzz. No, but seriously, he was really excited to jump on that case.
He was.
He was thrilled, and he
was nerding out there.
His excitement is like the equivalent to mine if I had the opportunity to follow Beyonce around.
Well, Coutard syndrome is a delusional belief that the person is actually dead. So it's in the belief of the brain. And even when they were doing the PET scan, he's like, hey, you're not going to see anything in there because I died in the motorcycle crash. I hit some concrete, and that was that. But yet he's walking around saying that.
The delusion is so severe that the brain is actually in a vegetative state.
Right, which was interesting when they did the CAT scan on his head, and they showed that he really does think, his brain is so convinced, like you were saying, that he's dead. And he looks when he looks in his reflection, all he sees are maggots, and he's all
like a zombie.
Which that's one of Teresa's favorite parts, where you can
Yes,
see what
I
they're
do.
actually going through inside of their own brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we get pulled into their story on a more intimate level and more graphic. Yeah.
And then he's walking down the hall late at night.
Oh, no.
Where was his nurse chaperone? But
Who knows?
the cube was slipping.
it
should've
was
been
like your
monitored.
choice of weapons.
And he goes into a not an operating room, but something that had enough tools to do an operation if you needed to.
Yeah.
And he just slits his wrist. He just tries to. But who comes to rescue him?
Bickman.
Hey.
Bickman saves the day. And then they put him on some kind of a medicine that
Right.
helps him to not be suicidal and to start overcoming this condition, because the patient was a little upset. He's like, hey, you're really just interested in what I'm going through here, but you're not interested in helping me recover as soon as I can.
Right. And so they did, and he was good to go.
And I'm sure that's a temptation, for the doctors, like that, oh, I've always studied this case, but now I finally get to work on it on a patient. That's going to be pretty thrilling as
He's
well.
like, hey, this is my mental health at stake here. Can we take this a little more seriously, please? Yeah, no, that was a good one. That was an interesting storyline, but he's all better thanks to the cube.
Yeah, and then as they're looking at the PET scan, they find out that in fact the young girl does have rabies, and she contacted it through a field trip at school. She was actually bit by a bat.
Well,
Did
they
you
said she
know?
could have. Yeah, they said she was bit by a bat, and she may not have known it.
Right.
Well, that's what was like. Wait a second.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna know if a bat was just
One of those
around
nocturnal
me.
creatures crawling on me. Oh, I'm gonna
You
know
would
it.
know, right? Like, wouldn't you
know.
know? But that's good to know. In the event that I go in a cave, not that I probably ever will, but in case anybody ever goes to a cave, make sure that you keep your eyes out for bats.
Does that mean they have just little teeth that can kind of sting you, like maybe like a mosquito or
Yeah,
something?
Maybe
do you
she
have
just
an
thought
idea?
it
I
was
was
like
gonna
a
say
bite
that.
and didn't
Yeah.
think twice about
But
it.
she waited too long, and then her immune system was already torn down so much that, I mean, I never knew it could
Right.
get to that point nowadays because of the different ways to build up our immune system.
In order for the shot to be effective, it has to be administered right away.
Or
Yes.
you can take your child to go get rabies shots at,
Yeah, and she was, well, that patient was being
There's
repulsed.
one way to prevent
She
it.
did not want that water, and that was another tip off to Dr. Black. Well, in addition to her biting the doctor's assistant. And
I know. And then she says, oh, I hope you have a rabies shot. What?
Yeah.
Rabies? What year are we
And I
in?
found it fascinating that the one that got bit was back in there, like treating her as a patient. Like they don't isolate off these doctors after they've gone through something, whether they're shot or bit by someone with rabies. They let them keep on working on the patients.
Just like Bickman did with the guy that shot him in the neck, almost that grazed his
Yeah.
shoulder neck area.
he went in and operated on him, so it's all good.
Doctors are very forgiving.
Well, and they have an emotional capacity to compartmentalize in those situations
Totally
and look at it
agreed.
objectively. So that's good. But
Oh, and I wanted to say that this case was actually based off of a real case. 8-year-old girl by the name of Precious Reynolds. She's in California. She was scratched by a stray cat at school and didn't think twice about it. And the symptoms started off as, it's pretty minor, stomach ache, and then full paralyzation, and then brain inflammation. And, they did something very similar. They gave her antibiotics, and then they induced a coma so that it would prevent the body from shutting down. And it actually helped her.
And I love the emotional aspect, too, of that storyline, because Dr. Black, the mother of the daughter, really appeals to her maternal sense. Like, please keep trying, because all they were going to say was, we're just going to make her comfortable,
that was all they felt they could do.
And
But
that's
yet
all we
it's a
could-
cutting edge, state of the art, neurological center. And
The
she's
mom
like,
was
hey.
we're going to figure this out.
It was
Save
a
my
mother's
child.
plea, because she said
Yes.
if you had children, you wouldn't give up.
And I love how when she asked her, do you have any children? And Dr. Black looks at her, and there's that pause, like that. And Dr. Black says, no, that's my Dr. Black impersonation for the night. But yeah, she's like, no kids. And the mother says, anyways, okay, either way, please do whatever you can to save my daughter.
Well, this was like an arrow to the heart, because it gets her thinking, okay, what can I do? We've got 7 days, and she's trying to, she shuts the computers down of the interns or the doctor's assistant. She's like, you have to help with this now. And so she is totally on board of trying to find something to reverse this curse, in a sense, to reverse the effects of the rabies. And she goes to town. She doesn't take her meds.
Right, I was going to say, what better way for Dr. Black to really get into figuring out what to do, how to fix something.
She's all over that chalkboard. Woo!
Oh, that chalkboard
and her
drawing.
arm came in handy.
Oh, that arm is another notepad. Extra. I'm out of paper. Oh, there's my arm.
Yeah, and it was interesting. At the one point, she's so far off, and she rushes in because she's excited about coming up with the Milwaukee. What was that? The Milwaukee thing. Protocol. Yeah. Put child in medically induced coma. Okay, yeah, that was called the Milwaukee Protocol. And then Dr. Bickman, he's like, oh, don't worry about her, being like that. Because, that was Dr. Mahmoud. She says, well, I saw her taking some medicine. He covers for her.
Does he? Well, I love that he does that, though.
Yeah, I love that, too.
Doesn't think twice.
Doesn't think twice. No hesitation.
None whatsoever.
Yeah, but that could come back to bite him. No pun intended. Okay, later.
I see what you did there, Mindy. I see what you did.
So, there was a lot going on with her being off of her meds. She calls a psychiatrist at one point, and, Dr. Hartramp is trying to reason with her on the speakerphone. You have to take your meds. I thought that was fascinating how she was so in tune. She knew, even though Katherine lied about being on her meds.
Well, I think we all knew she was lying.
She said, I'm going to find a cure for rabies.
Right.
A little outrageous.
It was a little
That was
extreme.
a tip-off, okay.
Yeah. But also, it was interesting because you also saw her, when she's not on her meds, she always said in the first episode, rewinding once again back to the premiere, where she says, I do my best work when I'm not on my meds. And this was such a challenging situation that she could not do the best that she possibly humanly can unless she was off of her meds, which also then makes it even more interesting when they're not sure if Lily's going to pull through. And so it almost makes you wonder, maybe it doesn't matter whether it's like a placebo effect. Do you really need to be off your meds to do great work? Because I think at one point I started to doubt that. I don't know if anybody else started to think that too. I started to think maybe you should just stay on your meds. It doesn't make a difference. You can be great with or without it. And I really liked it. And you also noticed her do that shopping. She was online shopping.
Yes. That showed the mania of what she was going through.
And they said that that's actually, AJ Holden also said that that's what they do. Like that's a normal side effect is for you to do extreme shopping.
Really high highs, really low lows. Manic depression, bipolar, another name for it now. And that was a really good depiction because that's more of a common symptom, I think. The credit cards and all of a sudden, when she came back too, and all the packages were showing up.
I want to know what was in those boxes.
Helmut Lang, come on.
I know, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, what Helmut Lang awesome jacket did she also buy? Because she's got great taste.
Yeah, and she did a little, do you think it was a cat or a dog when she lashed out at Dr. Mahmoud in the hallway? Because she's to the edge. She's finding answers, but she's losing herself.
I didn't mean to cut
She kept taking off her shirt.
Yeah, that was interesting. It was like, I'm not going to dance this time, but I'm going to take off my shirt so you can see my camisole.
And she was kind of lashing out at her, and I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but then it was.
Well, it went from lashing out to her making a move almost on her.
That was when the hypersexual
she came back and
in.
apologized, but the Dr. Mahmoud, I don't think was buying it all.
No.
I think Dr. Mahmoud is playing doctor on Dr. Black.
Exactly.
And I think she's analyzing her and is trying to get to the bottom of it, but wants to make her move smart.
Yeah.
Because she can't just come at her anyway because she'll lose.
Well, she's been observing her for some time now.
Yes.
So she's taking it all in. Slowly.
Right. She's not wanting to buy everything there and that's for sale, so to speak. And she noticed that Dr. Black had a few medicines in front of her. And in a recent episode, she also kind of had a confrontation of almost jealousy, maybe about her fame or something. In other words, when she belted out the opera and then she kind of let her have it a little bit to her face after that, even though Dr. Black gave her a beautiful compliment, but, over that amazing opera song, just, in the cube. And, but But yeah, she said something about, it just was not a good situation.
They're just bumping heads.
They're
they
bumping
do
heads.
not like each other. They're just ready to just duke it out with each other.
Yeah,
at
that's
some
going to come
point.
to a head. That's
It's
going to
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, because Dr. Bickman, I think he might even back off. Well, I'll get into that in the predictions.
Yeah, say it for the predictions.
Predictions. Later on,
Not
later
yet.
on.
Don't cue the music. We're not ready yet. Not yet.
All right, so those were very interesting case studies. But yeah, Dr. Mahmood is showing her colors. And, well, we've got to also get into Esme. Because, this is the first night that Esme is working at the restaurant for Will. Very excited 16-year-old, first night on the job.
Shout out to Siobhan.
Yeah, exactly. Siobhan was an amazing guest on the show last week. We had a great time. It was so awesome to have her here. And what a well-adjusted young woman.
We were talking about it after. She's so composed and intelligent, and I think she's just the epitome of young budding talent. I'm so excited to see.
Yeah, and if
what
she
she's
ever
gonna do
needs
next.
anything, it's like she's the kind of person you just want to be there for. It's I love those kind of people. So, yeah, she plays Esme Black, on the show, and she was doing a great job in the restaurant, acting all innocent. Will said, "You better make sure and get your tip share, honey." And then Delilah says, "I don't think so. You ain't touching my money."
Right. That was so mean. I think Esme at that point was like, oh, I don't think
She's
I
like,
like
"It's
her.
on."
She was like, noted.
Yeah. So then she says, "Wow, because she had overheard the Spanish conversation. I really like that with the cooks." Well, lo and behold, then she speaks Spanish. So she's
Never
interpreting.
underestimate a 16-year-old and their ability to understand a second language.
She's bilingual. Who
She's
knew?
in high school. She knew.
Yeah.
She's a smart girl. Also shows how smart she is. Her
Right, and
character
she
is.
was hearing some pretty raunchy talk from those cooks, and they were like, they covered their
They're
tracks.
like, save it, save it,
Oh,
save
that
it,
was
save it.
before your aunt got with Will, and she put two and two together and found a way to sabotage Delilah when the big investor came out to the restaurant.
And she switched the wine.
She switches the wines
Because the investor who came to visit brought their own bottle of a $500 bottle of wine. I think we would all know the difference.
She switched it out with the cooking wine.
Right,
so.
And she was playing it off really good up until the moment where she's like, "Bye, Delilah."
I love that she did that too.
Yeah,
I love that Esme has this devilish side to her.
she does.
A protective side. It links back to her loyalty to her aunt. Oh, somebody's messing with my aunt's happiness. Oh, okay, well then let me take care of that the best way that I possibly can.
Yeah, she plays that really well because there is a deeper connection and she might just think that it's the fun aunt thing, but she's playing that layer.
You see it.
There is a biological
You see it
connection
unfolding,
there.
and she doesn't know that she's subconsciously doing that. She doesn't even know.
And well, we'll have to get into if Delilah's done or not. But yeah, that was really good.
But he was able to finally fire Delilah.
Yeah, because that was the whole point, was like, hey, she's out of there. Mm-hmm. Well, and I noticed that the restaurant was actually called Van Rensselaer, which is Will's last name. So I didn't really realize that until tonight.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
That's
Chef
my correlation
Will
song.
has his own restaurant, so his dream is coming true, but he can't have it messed up. And I so we'll have to get into that prediction. But so, where else are we headed with all of this tonight? Any thoughts? Any last thoughts here before we get into news?
Well, let's see. We touched on her calling off the engagement with Will, but can we just talk about how she comes home?
Okay, yeah.
And he's pouring wine to celebrate that he got rid of his side chick, or mistress, or however you want to call it. Well, not a mistress because they're not married yet.
And she's exhausted from her episode that's gone on for I don't know how many days, at least a couple, 2 or 3 nights,
Right.
overnights at the hospital.
But she comes home and he's just like, I see you went shopping, and you see all the boxes laid out in her apartment. And then he's like, I fired Delilah. We've got to celebrate. Let's toast. And she's like, hey, here's the wedding ring.
Sorry, I can't do this.
And he's so upset and so hurt. And that's what made me feel so bad for him, because he changed everything around, and his facial expression looked like, so you mean I could have kept Delilah? I just lost I was like totally, like, now he's got to probably try and get her back, because now he fired her, and he really got rid of her just to display his remorse for his actions and to rectify everything. And here she is, not really honest with him completely, because she was having the affair with Bickman, and then instead of telling him the truth, she goes on about being Esme's mother.
She just doesn't seem to know what love is.
She's a little lost there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She thinks that it's love, what she's experiencing with Bickman.
I mean, if you look at her backstory, she's had issues with her father, and then with her, Johnny.
Right.
So she's a little messed up and needs to get back on track.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think she knows what love is. I feel that she only likes stuff for quick moments of time, because she doesn't like the commitment of love. I think she knows what love is. It's just when she starts to experience it too much, she's just, I'm going to walk away from this now. Let me find a way to sabotage this, subconsciously or intentionally. I think it starts out subconsciously until people call her out on it, and then she comes to terms with it, and then she finds a way to escape it without being a bad person.
She's magnetized. She's got more of a magnetic energy, sort of to the wrong force, not to the love force, if you will.
She likes the concept of everything. The concept and idea of everything sounds great, but the building of the foundation and sticking to it is what causes her to run.
Now, do you guys have any thoughts that we could share in our news section? We'll get into news. Let's get some of the fans' thoughts and find out what some people are thinking out there.
Soundboard
and
hung,
again,
one
thank
sec.
you for your tweets, and thank you for connecting on IMDb. I've enjoyed reading those quotes as well. IMDb.com and YouTube, so
And iTunes.
and iTunes. You know,
Yes.
if you want to subscribe, that's a great way to connect, to watch the show, rate the show, and review it. Of course,
5 stars, please.
you know,
5 stars, nothing less.
we love it all. Cha-ching, 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 ching, ching. Okay, who's got the first?
News and gossip. So Amy Holden Jones, the creator of the show, and Reilly did a Reddit AMA today. You can go to Reddit and follow the discussion thread. It's up there. And there are a lot of really great behind-the-scenes tidbits that they shared. One of them being that Amy actually confirmed that the show has not been canceled. I know there were some rumors
That's
floating around
really great to hear.
online. We are getting the full run of the 13 episodes. So
Right, and Reilly also said the same thing on her Twitter as well. Reilly B-Box. Don't fret about season 2. No decision made yet. Just enjoy the last 4 shows. The best yet, I will be doing Reddit Thursday, which is what Teresa just mentioned.
Yep. Amy also mentioned that a lot of the cases are inspired by a neurologist by the name of Oliver Sacks. For example, the mirror box in episode 6 is actually one of his inventions.
You know, that's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Because post-traumatic stress disorder and how you can trick the brain out of pain, and
That was really clever.
yeah.
And then another case was a famous case of a man that was struck by lightning who had no musical talent, then became obsessed with the piano. So they researched the original case story and made him someone who hated music, then took up violin.
I think that was savant syndrome.
Yeah, acquired savant syndrome.
Yes.
That's when suddenly you become great at something due to a change in the brain.
That's why I've loved this show also, because you're really learning and being educated through the
Yes.
drama. I mean,
and I love that
really
you
enjoy
challenge it. You find yourself challenging.
Yes.
Is this really true? But they're all real cases.
Right. They're loosely based after
Loosely based, but the
real
the
cases.
symptoms, and maybe not the actual people, but like the symptoms and the symptoms are the same.
Well,
the,
and
the scientific terms,
yeah.
they're not making things up. Like if you watch like a Law and Order episode and they make up some law, like it's not really, it's not really true.
And the layperson is not going to go into a state-of-the-art facility like the Cube and
Right.
get to see all these amazing things.
Exactly.
And so it's another way to get to.
And another fun fact is Amy Holden Jones, A Holden and J on her Twitter account. She says, "Interesting. The same person directed last week's Happy Music episode of #Black Box and this dark scary one, Trisha Brock. She did a great job."
Very good. Yes.
Another fun fact.
Yeah. And I remember Siobhan talked about how they would have different directors, and she opened up about the behind the scenes. So if you haven't caught that show from last week, then be sure and check that out as well.
And give it 5 stars on your iTunes.
Oh, and last thing, there's actually a Twitter campaign. Tweet using the hashtag #RenewBlackBox to, get ABC's attention and get them to renew this great show.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And it's really important to do that because they really do pay attention to that. They want to see that the fans are proactive and they know that there's that desire for a show to come back, especially this show. I think that it turned out to be a really great, strong show with the really strong storylines that can really develop even more. So definitely tweet ABC and let them know.
Yeah, I've totally enjoyed the cast, and I'm sure I would enjoy the crew. So, all right, so let's get into predictions. Let's roll with that. We got to find out what's happening.
And now,
What's going to
your
happen
AfterBuzz TV
in the future? Oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, so Dr. Farah Mahmood challenges Dr. Black in her practice to her face. She's going to push the bar, and she's going to try to get her exposed and extracted because I think she's fighting for her position. She wants to be the one that's admired. She wants to be the one in that position.
It's like she's jealous.
Yeah, it's getting catty, and she's
Meow.
collecting, information, the incident in the hallway, the medicine. There's a buildup happening, and there's going to be a climax, and she is going to. Dr. Black's, I don't know how it's going to be dealt with because she has just entangled herself with so many different lies.
So you think it's going to be less about Dr. Mahmood trying to help her get through it and more of her using it as an advantage to move up?
Right.
I can
Yes,
see
do.
that. I can definitely see that because she's so jealous. You can see the envy that she has, just the way her character looks at her, interacts with her.
Right.
I think she wants to be that top dog in
Yeah.
the black.
And they seem like polar opposites.
cube.
And also, Dr. Black she's written a book. She speaks at those amazing engagements where she has rendezvous sometimes if she gets off her. She has these. It's been a wild ride, but she is famed.
Well, then Mahmood needs to step it up a little bit
She
and get to
does.
writing some books.
Yeah, she needs to let out an album of opera
Maybe
or
she
something.
just needs
She
to.
needs to step up her fashion game,
Right,
too.
exactly. She's not in helmet laying, and that's why she's not climbing up the ranks like Dr. Black is.
Do you think that she is going to hit on Bickman? Oh no!
I didn't really see that play out,
Okay.
but you know.
Yeah, that was.
Hey, this is news. This is a prediction,
That
so
was
you are
random.
entitled to that prediction.
That could happen if he's trying to get Dr. Black to back off. He might play some game like that because, I think he's going to, he puts it on hold. Well, we saw in
Yes.
the little preview. He's going to put it on hold.
Oh, and he's going to shut that down. I think one of the reasons that made her so confident to leave Will, if you think about it, was Bickman. Mm-hmm. She wasn't this confident before they had their date or their rendezvous at the Hotel
Which is a
Marbella.
mishap on her end
Yeah.
because, you're dealing with Bickman, who's
Yeah.
the ultimate commitment
I
phobe.
mean, she probably should have had this talk first with Bickman before she left Will because I think now she's going to try and get back with Will. She's going to try and get back
is that your
with him.
prediction?
That's my prediction is she's going to try and get that old thing back. She is going to try and reel him back in, and I think that he is going to go for Delilah, and she's going to be really hurt and upset about it.
And she's going to have to be reprimanded by her psychiatrist in some kind of way.
Because I just don't feel like Delilah is just going to go that easy. She didn't go that easy the first time.
no.
Last time she got let go, she showed up at his restaurant in underwear and nothing else. How she got there, where were her clothes that episode when she left?
I don't think we found out.
She's got that whole
Will-
stalker fatal attraction thing going on. It's
she
it's
plays that
not over.
well.
Will is going to get his coat back.
That was our prediction.
That's my prediction. Will is going to get his coat back from Delilah because they're going to get back together, and Dr. Black's going to want to get back with him because Bickman does not want her 100% because he laid it out for her. He was honest. He said, I only want 50% of you. I can only give you 50%, so you need to stay with somebody else. So
That's such a jerk thing to say.
right. It is.
Yeah.
But at least he was
Well,
honest.
was he covering up? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt for just a moment. Was he covering up?
What?
Like, in other words, does he really want her, but he doesn't want her unless she's fully gotten rid of him, and that's
Cheers to that prediction.
Let me drink on that one.
Just drop my cup holder. Yeah, I'll share.
A little bit of Sprite there. All right, so yeah, what do you think? Is he going to? What's
Is he
do?
going to
Well,
stick around?
we'll see. We'll have to see what happens. What's your prediction?
So, I mean, I touched upon it earlier, but Bickman is the ultimate commitment foe. The only thing that he's committed to is his work. So I think he's going to get cold feet now that Katherine has, actually left Will. I mean, that's a big thing. She broke off an engagement partially to be with Bickman, who is scared of anything that resembles commitment. So I think now he's going to feel like he needs to meet some expectation. And I don't think he's up for that right now.
Well, if you think about it, now that since we're on the topic of lack of our commitment fears, they're committed to their patients for such a short period of time.
Yeah.
And then they're on to the next one.
Right.
So that's why they're so committed to their job, is because it gives them the ability to focus on something, give their all, and then they're done. Once they've saved the life, they moved on.
Yeah, it's a conditioning in terms of, okay, this is okay for a relationship to go like this, but that's not intimacy. That's just, a doctor-patient relationship.
Yeah. It's...
But how do you convince their brain of that?
Right. I know.
Seriously, it's interesting how that same dynamic is playing out in their relationships.
It is, yeah.
My second prediction is, now that Will knows that Esme is Katherine's daughter, and seeing how things ended with them terribly, I don't know if Will has it in him to maybe, tell someone that, someone in the family that Esme is the daughter. I mean, he's a scorned lover.
Right.
So he's very emotional right now. And he's going to want to get back.
That's pretty low.
Yeah, I'm seeing an
I don't
airplane
see
flying across the sky with a banner.
I don't see it in Will, but you never know.
How could you allow your mind to even think such a thing?
Yeah.
No, it can backfire. Maybe he slips, or maybe they argue, and maybe she overhears him.
Right.
I don't think it would be something where he would tell her directly, oh, that's your mom. But I could see her overhearing something and finding out that way.
We'll see.
All right, so that's going to do it for predictions, and I guess that's going to do it for tonight. And
we have to say goodbye.
Yes, we do. But thank you for joining us here tonight, and you can reach Jade on Twitter.
Yes, you can find me at Twitter at RealJadesWorld.
And Teresa, you can find her on Twitter.
You can find me on Twitter at Teresa Law.
And you can find me at Mindy Charlotte. Send us your tweets. Stay connected, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Hope you have a great weekend ahead.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.